Happy New Year to everyone. It's great to have everyone in Japan House. I'm Joshua Walker. I have the privilege of being the president here at Japan Society. I'm really excited to kick off the new year with you all, particularly on this very important topic, Transcending Time, Japanese Art and Technology. You know, this program is kind of the fruit of a great collaboration. It's an East Coast, West Coast collaboration. I see my friends from the Japan Institute of the Portland Japanese Garden. Thank you all for being here. This is in collaboration with them, along with the government of Japan. The Living Traditions series unravels historical journeys of some of the most iconic facets of Japanese culture through conversations between experts and cultural stewards on how they maintain deep-rooted traditions in the present day. That's a mouthful and a lot to say, but it basically means we've got the best in the house, and we've got a really amazing group that I'm privileged to call friends that will be really teaching us about this important topic. It's not just about the old school and ancient civilization of Japan or the new school technology of the future. It's the combination of the two. And what does this mean and what does it portend, particularly in the different places they're coming from? We're going to hear from Dr. Frank Feltens and Dr. Naoko Tosa on the applications of technology in the world of Japanese art today. My job is very simple. It's to say thank you for being here. We really appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy schedule to spend their evening and just an hour with us, but it's really to get out of the way of the experts and to hand things over to Monika Bišnek. The pronunciation is really bad in Hungarian, so I apologize. And in fact, you told me how to pronounce it. She's the Diane and Arthur Abbey Curator for Japanese Decorative Arts at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. That really needs no introduction to many of us. She's organized numerous exhibitions. If you haven't had a chance to check them out, you need to. Particularly of note, the Japanese bamboo art, the Abbey collection in 2017 that we remember, and of course, Kyoto, the capital of artistic imagination. The last thing I'm told to tell you is there's a survey, very Japanese style. We want you to do that. We actually read through all of those, so tell us how bad it is when the president has to get up here and welcome you. But that's just to simply say and to foot stomp how excited we are that you're here tonight. With that, Monika Sensei, let me turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the kind introduction. It's my great pleasure to be with you tonight, and yoroshiku onegai itashimasu. So thank you all for joining us tonight for the Japan Society's program, Transcending Time, Japanese Art and Technology. Japan's vibrant art and craft tradition, from folding screens to intricate lacquer works and immersive digital experiences, has been celebrated for centuries. The country's technology sector grows significantly in the second half of the 20th century, driving economic development and becoming part of Japan's domestic and international identity. As a result, many artists got involved in technology-based or enhanced projects. In Japan, the roots of the field started to emerge as early as the 1950s with a group called Jikken Kobo, or Experimental Workshop, and the first media artists that appeared around the 1970s. Interest in the art of technology swelled in the 1980s when Japan's economic development became inextricably linked with the generation of Japanese artists and who used new digital technologies. Just as the father of video art, Nam June-paik, inspired a generation of Japanese artists with a major exhibition in Tokyo, Dump Type emerged in Kyoto as an artist collective that continued illuminating contemporary society through vivid visuals and sound performances. Later, Team Lab entered the scene, attracting the general public's attention through immersive video installation at a time when the meaning of media art was debated. On the other hand, how cultural heritage, such as Edo period folding screens, originally owned by Buddhist temples, are shared and made accessible to wider audiences using online platforms, databases, or digital technology and high-definition printing is increasingly concerns contemporary society. The digital revolution provides a new set of tools and environments that creators can use, but this raises issues such as how best to preserve certain craft traditions and aesthetic values built up over many generations. Technology can provide both continuity and discontinuity with opportunities and challenges. We will hear about these subjects in details from our speakers, Dr. Frank Feltens and Dr. Naoko Tosa. Dr. Feltens is Curator of Japanese Art at the Smithsonian's National Museum of Asian Art. He is a specialist of Japanese painting with a focus on the late medieval and early modern periods. His books include Ogata Kōrin, Art in Early Modern Japan. He holds a Ph.D. from Columbia University in Japanese art history. Dr. Tosa has been a professor at Kyoto University since 2005. She's a new media artist known for work such as Sounds of Ikebana, Spring, which was shown on over 60 billboards in Times Square. She holds a PhD from the University of Tokyo in art and technology research. First, we will hear from Dr. Feltens, so please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Thank you all so much for coming, and I also want to join Monica in thanking everybody, and of course Joshua, and thanking everybody for organizing this event, and especially the team here at Japan Society did a fantastic job in bringing everybody together and in organizing this flawlessly, so thank you so much for that as well. Like Monica said, I work on painting, but today I won't be talking about art history so much as about the ways in which our collection at the Smithsonian National Museum of Asian Art is being made available in different forms, both in digital and in the form of replicas. And so at our museum, and I'll talk a little bit about the history that really pushes us in this direction and makes this a really exciting point of our history and of our outreach. But our museum, the Smithsonian's National Museum of Asian Art, is located in Washington. And for more than 10 years, we've been working with Canon and Kyoto Culture Association in creating really high-level replicas of important Japanese paintings in our collection. And with different aims in mind. One of them is shared stewardship in other words, making these works available with the culture of origin, meaning in Japan in this case. Others are education, outreach, but also simply, the opportunity to create different types of exhibitions that would otherwise not be possible with originals. And so the Smithsonian has been working with, sort of experimenting with replicas in the biggest sense of the word for since the 80s, actually. So we have in our study collection a number of replicas that were made in the 80s by companies like Kodansha and others that, were sort of at the cusp of this replica boom that you're seeing in Japan today. That is really part of Japan's effort of cultural preservation and education and making works of art more available and more accessible to a general audience. And I will show you some of those examples that are being done with our collection especially. And but before I talk a little bit about the history and what we are doing, I want to I'm not an expert in creating these replicas by any means, but I do want to give you a little bit of an overview of how these replicas come together. And so in my time, and I've been at the Smithsonian for about 8 years now, I've overseen a number of replica creations with Canon and Kyoto Culture Association of about 15 to 20 works from our collection that are being very carefully recreated by this initiative. And what is so striking is the combination of contemporary technology and digital technology and traditional arts and crafts that sort of are fused in these replicas in a really compelling way, in a way that, to my knowledge, is not achieved in other efforts of replica facsimile creation in of other entities. And I do want to make that value judgment here, even if I'm not really allowed to say that. But so the replica creation process starts with, what you see here on the screen as sort of a remote moving camera that captures teeny tiny, just a few inches big images of details of the work. It's basically, photographing each artwork on a grid and is creating hundreds of images of, say, a screen painting like the one you see here, which is in our collection, a painting by Hokusai. And then these are some images of storage of our of the Canon team and our staff, sort of looking at these printouts of these photographs and to match them as closely as possible to the color of the original work. Obviously, I mean, you don't want a replica to immediately scream that it's a reproduction. So the color adjustment process is done in an incredibly painstaking and meticulous way. So much so that the Kyoto Culture Association is bringing a printer on site to do this in situ, but at the same time also often needs to come back after using other printing technology as well. And then this is just to show you a little bit how this looks like. And then what intrigues me so much about this process is the traditional aspect of the production process, where the makers of these facsimiles are working very closely with traditional artisans, mostly based in Kyoto, that, as the person here you see on the screen, are trained in the traditional application of gold leaf, but others as well that build the physical structure of the folding screens, for example, or weave the mountings, because the fabric borders of traditional paintings are recreated by weaving them again and to basically make the facsimile almost indistinguishable from the original work, which is really astounding. And of course, I mean, just from an art historical perspective, gold leaf shows you a lot of different things about the age and about the time that a painting was made. For example, in the 16th century, the grid that is created by the gold leaf is much more irregular, for example, than say in the 18th century, where it gets gold sources are being discovered in Japan and gold becomes less expensive. And especially so in the 19th century, this grid, so to speak, is extremely irregular, almost very close to a gilded screen that you would see made today, for example. So, and the artisans that are employed in this process of creating these facsimiles are paying very close attention to make the gold age and to apply the grid in a way, even add damage in a way that is exactly also represented in the original. So even, it's almost frightening for me as a person dealing mostly with original works of art to see how close these replicas become, almost indistinguishable from the original, at least if you look only at the hand-applied parts, the gold. So why is this so important for us at the National Museum of Asian Art? Many of you are probably not familiar with the history of our museum, but it was founded more than 100 years ago on the basis of a collection of an industrialist named Charles Lang Freer, who, the museum's collection has outgrown the original gift by far, but Freer's will stipulated that the collection could never leave the building. So everything that he gifted, and by extension, anything that is added to the Freer collection falls under that rule, that it can always only be shown within the physical building, the physical structure of the museum. So that, offers a lot of interesting opportunities for preservation and for conservation. It's never good for a work of art to travel. So Freer had that in mind when he, I think, came up with this idea. But it makes it really hard and really difficult for us to share our works with, Japan in this case. And so we are constantly thinking about new ideas and how we can make our collections available, especially, with the public in America and globally, but also especially in my case, in Japan, in the country where all of these works were made. And this is especially important for works like this one, which are, had they remained in Japan, they would likely be, very cherished works to the degree that they might even be national treasures, like this famous iconic painting by Tawareya Sotatsu, Waves at Matsushima, which is, one of the of about 10 screen paintings that survived by Sotatsu. So. Early on, this was our first project with Canon and Kyoto Culture Association, where we created a facsimile of these screens. This is an image of them being photographed and color matched in storage at the museum. And then the facsimiles were given to the temple that used to own these screens originally. And they were probably also made for this temple in the early 17th century. So this was, as you can see, a big event locally, and this is, for a collection that is sort of permanently, so to speak, located in Washington. It was a great moment for us to bring at least a part of this legacy back to Japan. If not in the form of the original, then in a replica that is very close to it. And then, because these replicas are in Japan, they have assumed a new life on their own, a life that is in a way still connected to the original, but also separate. In this case, these replicas, these are not the originals, have made it to international stardom in that way at the G20 summit in Osaka, where they were displayed to world leaders who were visiting the city at the time. So they've kind of assumed a little bit of a diplomatic role as well in that moment. And then another big part of our collection are paintings by Hokusai. And so it's often said that our collection of Hokusai paintings is the biggest anywhere, including Japan. And almost 99% of those paintings have been with the museum since its founding more than 100 years ago. So they've never, returned to Japan or traveled anywhere. And that has resulted in a very high level of preservation of the original paintings. The color is almost as close as possible to the original condition of the work, because Hokusai, died in the mid-19th century. So, and 50 years after, immediately the bulk of the collection came into Freer's own hands. So there was only the span of only 50 years where they were in sort of the public domain, so to speak. And after that, they were being cared for and not moved a whole lot, which resulted in a very pristine state of preservation for most of these works. So, and in order to share them with people in Japan, we collaborated with the Sumida Hokusai Museum, a new museum in Kyoto, built at the site or in the neighborhood where Hokusai lived or maintained a studio. And because the museum is new, it didn't have a big collection of its own at the time. So we, Canon, Kyoto Cultural Association, and us collaborated and created about a dozen facsimiles of our collection that are now part of the Sumida Hokusai Museum's collection. And this is an image of the exhibition to celebrate that in 2019. And then I don't want to take up too much more time, but just to say that there is more things you can do with replicas, and those are really alternative models of exhibition making, for example. So last year we worked with the temple Kenninji in Kyoto, which is, as many of you probably know, a major Zen monastery in the center of the city, very much visited by a lot of people, both Japanese and foreign. And we created an exhibition concept that would not be possible using the originals, with the replicas displayed without glass, with natural light coming into the spaces. There is, they are exposed to the climate that is outside, and so if it rains, it rains. If the sun shines, it shines, and it gives visitors a unique experience of seeing these works in an original setting, in a space that is dated to the 17th century and is itself an important cultural property. So this kind of fusion of 21st century reproductive technology and this unique setting at Kenninji was really an inspiring kind of experience also for me. I really discovered many new things about these works in our collection. And it was, a very popular show. We had a lot of visitors. As you can see here, people are lining up outside. So, in shameless self-promotion, I couldn't resist but putting this in. And in many ways also, I think, this sort of, this idea of contemplating Japanese paintings in the natural light is something that also kind of connects to the principles that our museum was founded upon by Charles Freer, who is here on the left side, kneeling on the ground, looking at a hand scroll in a way that you should not look at a piece of Japanese art, but still. He had a natural light ceiling lights installed in his home, and the gallery in Washington also still has those with UV filtering layers installed that don't damage the painting. But in the original setting in Washington too, we have a combination of natural light and artificial light in a way that kind of resonates some of the ideas of the seasons and different moments in daylight in seeing Japanese art. And then finally, there are also interesting opportunities to share these, the ambassadorial role that Japanese art has in collections like in DC or here in New York with kids. And I've done a couple of programs with Japanese elementary schoolers and junior high school teenagers, basically, who were. I wish I had these opportunities when I was little, where you don't have to be shushed, or you don't have to, you can get close to the work to the work of art and don't feel inhibited or intimidated by it. And I think these replicas offer this kind of interesting opportunity to decrease the distance between a work of art and people. Finally. There is another, so we are working with a lot of different ideas of how to make our collections more accessible, and replicas are just one of them. Digital projects are another, and this is just one example of a collaboration that we did with Tokyo University of the Arts, the Institute of Knowledge and Inspiration, where in conjunction with a Zen exhibition in 2022, we created this animation that shows how an ink painting comes together from the first stroke to the final image. And also this animation is also a combination of analog and digital, where a ink painting professor at Tokyo University of the Arts redrew this iconic painting in our collection, and that process was captured in this digital manner. So it's basically a kind of a fusion of analog and digital as well, in a really, I think, insightful, a simple but really insightful way. So much so that this is a painting done by a group of kids who use this animation in their own classes, and I could show you 20 more of those, and they all stellar like this one. And I think this is a perfect way to end this and to segue to Professor Tosa's talk. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Naoko Tosa. I am talking about today art culture for the Japanese art and technology for Japanese culture. First, I introduce you about my digital archive project. So you can see this is a Rakuchu Rakugaizu. This is a 17th centuries Edo eras area of the Kyoto, middle of the Kyoto city. This system provides detail of the information on the people and building based on the interaction with the user, like that. So if you enter the question regarding place Nijo Castle, or like this one, Nijo Castle, the location will be brought into the focus. Then you can point the people and ask them various questions by text input, make an interaction by text. For some location, scenes from the Edo period and scenes from modern festivals express the manga style from the overlapped and you can be compared like these ones. And also, another one is called Jidai Matsuri, like these ones. So, then I talk about some history of the art and technology in my point of view. Okay, in 1980, art and craft movement, industry revolution, come from John Ruskin and William Morris studied of the combined to the art and life. And then 1990, Bauhaus started. These are also combined the total of the art and architecture and craft and the design like that was established in Weimar and Dessau in Germany. And then a new Bauhaus appeared because Bauhaus professor moved to the United States because Second World War. Then 1966, EAT experiment in art and technology, including Robert Rauschenberg and AT&T's engineer, Bell Labs engineer, start of the new type of the art and technology research. Then 1967, MIT Center for Advanced Visual Studies, CFS, established by one of the new Bauhaus member, George Kepesh. 1974, ACM Information Processing Society, SIGGRAPH, has started combined to the new field of the art and technology, such as computer graphics, early computer graphics art, and video art. 1979, Ars Electronica International Conference began in Linz, Austria. 1985, MIT Media Lab was established. 1989, ZKM, Center for Art and Media, Karlsruhe, was established in Karlsruhe, Germany. 1995, ATR Media Integration and Communication Lab started in Kyoto, Japan. This is a more computing point of view. From 2000, video art and digital art collection began as a museum worldwide, such as Museum of Modern Art. So now I will talk about why I study about art and technology. Because most of the cultural heritage remaining even now were created using a cutting-edge technology of the time, such as pyramid, such as big statue of the Buddha, Nara Prefecture in Japan. I was very much interested in using technology in my artworks. My first success of the art and technology video art was An Expression, this one's, and which was curated by Barbara London, who was a senior curator of the MoMA at that time. And this one is very measuring of the brightness of the images. At the same time, this brightness of the image is changing to the music automatically. So next, I started over the more interactive art using emotional recognition by AI technique, by using voice intonations. In fact, this is my Ph.D. thesis. So then I tried to the more complex interactive art piece using a speech recognition and emotional recognition use AI using by voice. It's called interactive manzai. Manzai is a Japanese comical dialogue, two-person playing. Tsukomi is offense person, and bokeh is a defense person. And then I decided tsukomi, offense computer. And at that time, Japanese people is laughing, a lot of laughing. But in United States, people is nobody laughing. Nobody. Then I understand, laughter cannot be enjoyed without sharing culture. Then I realized that between art and technology, there is a cultural element. Culture has its own form. After that, I joined to the MIT Center for Advanced Visual Studies for Artist Fellow. I developed Zenetic computer that teaching user about Zen Buddhism. By carefully introducing a Zen principle into the system, I realized that American people could understand Zen. First step, make a digital sans ink painting, then user enter their own sans ink painting, and during the work, experience of the Zen dialogue and haiku poem. And finally, user experience 10 ox story and wake up. So then, after I came back to Japan, my first work at Expo 2012, Yosu, South Korea, this is a commission work. My first idea was a dragon swimming on the ceiling, protect the people. It's like a Zen temple in Kyoto. But at that time, Japan and South Korea were the very political conflict over the Takeshima issue. And I changed idea into the Asian folk god. Asian folk god, including a dragon. And this is Asian symbols. Then the concept is Asia as one. And then I experienced that the art can exceed these conflicts. Kenninji, this is a Kenninji Zen temple in Kyoto, a very high class, Zen temple in Kyoto. I delegated my digital art piece to Kenninji. One is my digital photography, Silence, showing the floating tree. And another one is dedicated non-drawing, Sansui ink painting, Sansui on the cloud. Because I made this Sansui ink painting 1,000 photographies. Why this looks like Sansui ink painting? Because I follow the Asian original perspective called San-en, looking at and parallel view and looking down for the one picture. So this is the main topic. Discovery of the Japanese beauty by cutting-edge technology. Basis of my activity, I thought Japanese beauty is expressed by extracting beauty hidden in nature. Therefore, I started researching the beauty of Japan, Ichigo Ichie, once a time of a lifetime, natural phenomenon by using cutting-edge technology, such as high-speed camera. For example, I found a basic form, Ikebana, a fragile triangle like that. So, and in this shape, using a field pattern created by sound vibration in the speaker. This is speakers. And this is shooting systems. Then, after that, I am a part of the science person, and then try to the sound frequency test from 20 hertz to the 72 hertz. I found a lot of various different, shape appeared. Then Sound of Ikebana's first exhibition in Singapore. Singapore does not 4 seasons. That's why I show the Sound of Ikebana 4 seasons, Japanese Sound of Ikebana's colors 4 seasons, like this one. You can show the, you can look at the, reception time of the movies. And next is Rimpa School 400th Anniversary Projection Mapping. I said Tosa Rimpa. I am a very homage, Tosa Rimpa is homage for the Tawaraya Sotatsu. And this is a famous, his artwork, Wind God and Thunder God, National Treasure. Rimpa is said to be the beginning of the Japanese design because before his artworks, not so much deformation of the artworks. And then I collaborate with Kyogen actor, Ippei Shigeyama. He played Kaminari. So, and then this is another piece of the Rimpa School's homage called Utsuroi. Utsuroi means a transition time. A Japanese taste of the simple and quiet surrounding wabi-sabi and expressed by the nitrogen technology, minus 200 degree temperature. You can see the latest reception time of the movies. Then I was appointment as a 2016 to 2017 Japan cultural envoy, visiting 10 cities and 8 countries. Then, as Japan cultural envoy, I spent a month in New York City showing Sound of Ikebana Spring over 60 billboard in the Times Square and conducted a cultural exchange. So another point of view of the study of the art and technology, fashion, digital fashions. So this is a part of the one frame of the Sound of Ikebana, and then printed special paper, then clamp the fabric, temperature the 200 degree, and make clothes like these ones. In fact, firstly, leader of the traditional culture in Kyoto reacted Sound of Ikebana fashion. For example, Miss Senko Ikebana, Miss Senko Ikenobo, the next director of the Ikenobo famous Ikebana school, put on the Sound of Ikebana fashion and then make a Ikebana performance in New York Lincoln Center. And also Sound of Ikebana fashion appeared costume, Kyogen, Mr. Ippei Shigeyama acting to the, Kyogen, tsukuzukushi, like this ones. So I showed Sound of Ikebana fashion in New York Fashion Week 2014, spring summer collections. After the successful runway, were featured by Vogue 2023. Also, I will show the New York Fashion Week fall and winter collection in the next week. So, this is another point of view, the study of art and technology. I belong to integrated art and science for disaster reduction research group at Kyoto University, aiming to make citizens aware of disaster prevention on a daily basis. And my idea is this is a tsunami simulation system. Here is a water, and then water make a sound, tsunami sound, recording to sound of Ikebana way, and then make a tsunami, looks like a tsunami shape. And then this building is a part of the disaster prevention laboratories, and then this area is considered inside of the train, and then we are lot of the poster input and then jack to the train. This is last year's exhibitions. Theme is deconceptualizing tradition in Japanese theater. I will show you the 3-piece in Hawaii, Hiro. And this is a non-theater's one. Collaborate with Mr. Soichiro Hayashi. He's belong to her Kanze party. And then we research about new type of the beauty of the no theater. It's called aesthetics, called Yugen. And Yugen is very elegant, is very not so much unclear things. And then we are somehow more using a digital technology, using a projection mapping, and the emotional state appear on the screen. You can see that later the reception time. And the second piece is kabuki, renjishi. And I'm focused about kumadori. This is kumadori is kabuki actors cosmetics, like this one. This is the original one, and then I will show the this ones. Renjishi is two lions, two parent lions, and then dancing together, two lions spirit, and dancing together very widely. Wild dance. And then this kind of movie also show the opening act, the United Nations International Governance for Internet Governance Forum in Kyoto last year, like that. Final piece is this one, Heike Monogatari, Gion Shoujo. First scene. Idea come from Japanese ghost story based on the Heike family's destructions. So it's a time already. So final summary. I wrote a book for the Japanese cultural computing. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again. I would like to kick off the conversation with a question about the word geijutsu. The Japanese word geijutsu refers broadly to art, but also to technology, technique, and skill. And media art is often called media geijutsu. So that is a very interesting Japanese word that sort of pulls together all the aspects that we discussed tonight. Do you think it's a unique idea that exists only in Japan, or you can think of an equivalent in Western cultures?
I think, geijutsu means not like Westerners think about art. Geijutsu means, for example, bunkacho, national affairs, that including a manga, also geijutsu. Yeah, very widely, not only, traditional art, not only, modern art, yeah, very wide. I think because this is a Japanese customs, I am living in Kyoto almost 20 years, life and art is very, connected, especially craft and, traditional art. course. That's why, this is a kind of Japanese characteristics, I believe.
Yeah, now that I had a bit of time to think about this tricky question, thank you, Monica. But yeah, I think, I was also thinking now about the sort of inherent usability of Japanese art, for lack of a better word, that there is, that, for most pieces, at least traditionally speaking, there is some kind of, direct usage or direct interaction involved in them in a way that I can't really think about that being the case sort of in other cultures, so to speak. So I'm not sure whether geijutsu is really a unique Japanese concept. I'm always hesitant to use that word, uniquely Japanese, because it's so cliched in many ways, but I wonder if this sort of background of having sort of this, inherent interaction, direct interaction, haptic and visual with artworks on a daily basis, in a way, stands behind that term. Yeah.
Thank you. So, to Frank, you mentioned briefly in the presentation that as a curator with a trained eye, when you look at a replica screen, sometimes you feel almost confused by the quality, by the gold leaf, which is carefully applied to the surface of the screen. So if somebody who has that experience that you have, how can you tell the difference between a replica screen and an original?
That's an easy one. They have stamps on the back that says replica. No, but yeah, even if you don't have that, and I think this is something that I've definitely thought about and struggled with too, because given that now these replicas were produced, say, 10 years within the span of 10 years, but what in 100 years' time? How are they going to be handled vis-a-vis the original, so to speak? And I mean, it is almost impossible to tell when they are behind glass. I think it's very hard to tell that is, but it's not impossible, because I mean, an original painting has a surface relief. It has kind of a topography that is created by the pigments applied, and the printed technology does not go as far as to replicate that kind of like surface topography of a painting yet.
Thank you. So to Tosa-san, in recent decades, Japan wrestled with complicated issues of modernization and heritage, and the culture was often understood in the West through cliched binaries like Zen versus Kawaii. And technology is often juxtaposed with tradition in a similar way. So in your work, you managed to bring together the two binaries. Would you say something more about this conflict and how an artist would approach this problem?
I think, depend on the artist, thinking point of view is very different. This is my personal opinion. I am not so much compare of the other artist or artist artwork. I will decide my going way. So that's why. But many conflicts in Japan. That's why. But I think Japanese art is quite interesting for me, because we have almost 1,200 history or something. Yeah, very long history, and then we have still following traditional way in the modernism, such as modern wabi-sabi is like a muji. Muji is industry, like that. That's why quite interesting for me, Japanese culture, including for the especially new media art. Yeah, very far away, but it is connected inside. Yeah, because, and also wabi-sabi, and also very similar with the minimalism. Yeah.
Thank you. So again, back to Frank. You mentioned that the replica screens can be used in education, for presentations, and in situations when the original is not available, not accessible. How do you see the museum's role in this? Because recently in Tokyo National Museum, Kyoto National Museum, they displayed replica screens, and it was a new thing for Japanese National Museum. So how do you see the future of this trend?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is such an important question because it is really a trend, and one that is really visibly taking up steam in Japan. I think, you know, the Tsurugi project, or this Canon Kyoto Culture Association project, is by far not the only one dealing in, working in this territory. You know, there are, I can think of half a dozen of different entities, you know, doing having very different approaches to creating replicas. Kyoto Culture Association is just one of them in the mix, and so it is definitely something that is, you know, I think reflects the consciousness of sort of the evanescence of the real pieces. So it's part of it's yes, I mean, it's about sharing, it's about shared stewardship, it's about education, all these types of things, but it's also about cultural preservation in a way, because, you know, if you have more than one version of the original piece, then that you know, at least creates a record in a really compelling way. But then also, you know, at the National Museums, as you know, Monica, obviously, I mean, it's being used sort of as a little bit as a, you know, a playful kind of thing, right? Where I can think of another work in our collection with cranes, where the cranes, you know, suddenly start flying and moving around and all that. So I think that's fine and interesting, and it kind of gets people engaged with the work. So I'm happy about that. And but I see this trend of replica creation being officially endorsed, but also, you know, it's its own industry already in that way.
Thank you. So again, back to Tosa-san. So as new media's always changing, evolving, and always moving towards, what do you see as the next step for the field, the future? Or you can talk about your next projects as well.
AI. AI, very interesting for me. I am, you know, very early day, 1990s, start of the AI research, voice recognition. But at that time, very hard to you know, recognize things. But now very quite easy, and then more broad of the teaching data. And but I think, you know, not only AI digital way, combined to the analog way, because we are analog, you know. We are living life physically, and physical things and AI and combine things and more analog way. That's why, you know, Sound of Ikebana also input is analog, but output is digital. You know, such kind of things is more interesting for me. Yeah, kind of, you know, invisible, visible beauty. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you so much. So I think that we have a little time to take questions from the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and there will be someone with a microphone. So please wait until you have the microphone at hand. Any questions? Please.
Technology or other new media artists that you find personally very interesting?
I am interested about not new media artist. I am interested about, of course, Namjoon Paik, but now interested about Ai Weiwei and more, and also like that.
Okay, thank you. More questions? In the middle.
Thank you. Dr. Feltens, Dr. Tosa, thank you very much for fascinating discussions. I have about 20 questions for Frank, but I just have one question for Dr. Tosa at the moment, so I'm just going to do that one. Dr. Tosa, combining art and technology, you spoke of your interest in the principle of Ichigo Ichie, the once-in-a-lifetime experience. And so my question may be absolutely moot, but recently we saw at auction a Amiga computer owned by Andy Warhol. And the pieces of art that were created on that computer, if that computer dies, that art disappears. As an artist, are you concerned that your art may no longer be able to be experienced with the progress of technology and the movement beyond what you create your art with today?
Very difficult questions. So, I think, I am not so much technological person. That's why I am an artist. Of course, I study about computer science but this is a tool of the expressions for me. And then I think, what is my legacy is maybe some physical things and thinking of the thought by paperworks. That's why I make a book. Or yeah, thinking thought is most important. Thinking thought is like AI and programming, and then other people can be followed to this way completely, same things. And I think, I am this kind of things also very interesting. And then, after me, more young people try to the more growing up, same things, This kind of things for me interesting. Another, point of view, I am also, my my personality also a little bit old type artist, and then that's why I dedicated Zen temple or something, or physical things. They're both, both important for me.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you all for your presentations. Last summer, I visited the Intercommunications Center in Tokyo, in the same complex that houses the Tokyo Opera. And they had a wonderful exhibit on high-resolution scanning. And in fact, they focused on Hokusai. And I actually have a question for both of you. Was there any coordination or at least exchange of technological consulting between the Smithsonian and the Intercommunications Center in Tokyo for the high-resolution scans? And then for Naoko, should the Intercommunication Center and the establishment be entered in your history that you displayed?
My answer is very easy, and I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not aware of the Smithsonian collaborating in this particular instance, but it sounds very interesting.
For me, please say again something.
I noticed in your history,
Yeah.
going back, for example, the Bauhaus in Weimar, Germany, that I did not see the Intercommunications Center listed. And at least for me, it was somewhere up there with ZKM, at least in my imagination.
Okay. Maybe I should input Intercommunication Center.
Okay, thank you. One more.
So, hi, thanks for great presentations, by the way. So, I have a question about now that historical material is digitized and the digital material presumably will be available. I think you said some of it would be available online at some point. So it brings up questions of appropriation because artists are going to get a hold of it and transform it and use it in different ways. Some culturally informed and some not. And the Naoko spoke about AI. So what is AI going to do? Because once it's out there, the AI engines are going to grab hold of it, whether you like it or not. So have you thoughts about where we're going with that?
I can feel the legal, well, I shouldn't. I'm a curator, and I know that my colleagues, are much more qualified to think about that, especially in collections management, who are thinking about, the implications of making collections available in the digital realm. But I mean, the Smithsonian was one of the first institutions in the US to have its collection entirely digitized. So, I mean, it was kind of always, like for the longest time, part of the Smithsonian's directive to do so, and we are continuing to digitize and update our collections records, and also making, and I think the Met is very much at the forefront of that, and has been in making the any kind of photography of our collections available to anyone free of charge. And you can control whether anyone is using it to make a shower curtain at home or or another work of art. And I do know that I suddenly discovered that Murakami Haruki, Takashi actually did, use one of our paintings and made, a very successful series, commercial series of these, his own take of these works, which is fantastic actually, because I think it just carries collections that are so self-contained into a much broader sphere. But of course, like anything, you cannot control what the eventual usage is going to be. So that's just human nature, I think, in many ways.
I think, young people, why they love to the AI, because, very curious things for them. Of course, I am teaching about, young student at Kyoto University, and they are just, generated AI is very interesting. Just curiosity of the technique and technology. When I was young, 20s, also same. But now, why I again try to using AI with combined to the analog way, because kind of a paradox. If study about AI, you can learn about more humans. Yeah, this is interesting for me. Like cybernetics. Why human do it? Humans' behavior is quite interesting for AI. That's why. And I am thinking about you with Frank, and then we are try to kind of Zen AI, try to research about it, and then study about it, and then more thinking about study about humans. Why this kind of things doing, and why this kind of behavior doing. It is kind of thing. This kind of things from learn of the AI. Yeah, I believe interesting. Of course, several AI appears, not and then maybe combined to how to use and how to make a construction is very important. Yeah, maybe collaborate with programmer too.
We have a little time left, so if there is one more question, please, and that's going to be the last one.
Ms. Tosa-san, somebody asked you earlier, what are the others you're interested in? I remember Ai Weiwei, I forgot the other one. I'm curious, what do you think about Rafik Anadol? Rafik Anadol?
Excuse me, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. What do you say?
His name is Rafik Anadol. He just had a very big piece at the Modern Art for many months up, and it's AI, digital. I was just wondering if you have any opinion on his work.
I'm sorry, I am not so much his work, but that's why I cannot say something. Do you know?
Caught us cold. Like we should be going to other museums more often, I think, apparently.
Other museum.
Thank you for inspiring us.
I'm very interested about Harold Cohen, a very oldest, AI artist, 1980 or something, in Stanford University. Yeah, he made he was some sculptor or painter, and AI learned about his way of the how drawing. I am very inspired about these people, these artists.
Thank you so much. I'm afraid it's time to wrap up the conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Tosa and Dr. Feltens, for participating and talking to me. And thank you for your attention. We would like to invite you to reception at the lobby, and please turn in your survey so you can find it, your handout, and you might win a raffle prize. So thank you again for participating.